happening, people? It's your girl Minna. Welcome back to the channel. You already know what it is. Big up to everyone locked in, man. Friday vibes. Let me know how you are doing, how you feeling after Manchester United's victory over Bodo or Bodie? I think it's Bodo. Bodo glimpse 3-2. We got a lot to talk about that, but we also got some transfer stuff to talk about and potential departures in January for Manchester United. So be sure to hit the like button, be sure to subscribe. Let me know how you lot are doing. What have you guys been up to today? I've been chilling, but I'm good. And I just realized I look really low down for some reason. Why the hell does it look like I'm sinking in my chair? But big up to everyone. If you want to join the membership club, you can. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content. Of course, you get to support the growth of the channel, the ever-growing channel. Make sure you guys subscribe because we are less than 100 away from 8K. My goal was to hit 8K by the end of the month. So if you lot can make it happen, then it will be very much appreciated. But let me know. Listen, we're going to talk about the game. We're going to start with talking about yesterday's game. I want to know what you lot thought. Of course, there were some performances that really stood out for me for good reasons and for potentially reasons that lead to departures, specific players. But also there's some questions. I'm not gonna lie, I got some questions for how certain players fit into this Amorim system. Now, I was watching the game on TNT Sport yesterday, and oh my God, Robbie Savage, guys, is the most unbearable pundit when it comes. Like, he just kept talking about how Ruben Amorim changed to a back four in the second half of the game. But on that, about Ruben Amorim changing to a back four, Ruben Amorim did say that he made a lot of the changes in the back line. You know, he brought on Casemiro, if you lot remember, he brought on Luke Shaw, he brought on Dalot. He said he did it because of fitness. That is the main reason. And obviously, Manchester United were able to see out the game, but 3-2 on the score sheet is very flattering in terms of how the second half went, because I feel like Manchester United should have had one or two more goals. Mason Mount hit the post. Marcus Rashford scuffed a one-on-one. Garnacho had about two chances, one which he took and dragged it wide, and the second one he went for the worldie when he could have played Hojlund in. So we got a little bit to talk about. I want to hear you lot's thoughts about the game, so make sure you lot get involved in the comment section as well, and make sure you hit the like button. Let me see who is in the chat. Big up to Kai. I hope you're doing well. Elite Baller says, smash the likes. Come on, guys. You not heard Elite Baller. Make sure you hit the like button. But should we start with what Ruben Amorim said after the game? There's some things that he said after the game that definitely stood out for me. You know what I realized, by the way, guys? Ruben Amorim does not shy away from the idea of naming people in press conferences. He's not going to say, oh, ex-player or, you know, one of the play. He's going to name everybody that he's talking about, and I think in a way that's good, because it just also shows the players that there's not much to hide. But it's also, in a way, it's not bad. I don't think it's bad, because it's not like he's saying anything negative or anything that could really drag a player down. Big up to Koala in the chat. Big up. I hope you're doing well. MA says, yesterday was the first game in ages where we controlled the whole game. There was little passages I feel like United were kind of slipping up and allowing Bodo Glimt to get into the game. But I agree, yesterday's performance, despite the scoreline, which, like I said, you see the scoreline and you think, whoa, what is going on? But I really think United, it was one of United's better performances in what we've in a long time. And that's only Ruben Amorim's second game in charge. Now, I still think that Ruben Amorim has a lot to kind of figure out in terms of the players, you know, trying to figure out what player works in what position. For example, we saw Mason Mount starting in the 10. And I said this in my post-match video, in the reaction video that I dropped after the game. I said that the only thing that will stop Mason Mount from being an integral part to Ruben Amorim is injuries. That's the only thing for me that's holding him back. Whereas I look at Marcus Rashford, and I really feel like Man United or Ruben Amorim is trying to find ways, I don't want to say accommodate, but trying to find ways to fit Marcus Rashford into the team. Marcus Rashford has played in the 9. He's, I think, one of the few players outside of Bruno, because Bruno played in the 10 and then played in central midfield. But Marcus Rashford played in the 9, and then he played in the second 10 role. Now, in that second 10 role, I feel like yesterday's game, it was okay, because Mason Mount, obviously, is still getting match fit, number one. So he's not going to play the full 90 minutes. And Mason Mount, shout out to his cameo, because, like I said, I have my stocks in Mason Mount, and the only thing that will stop him from being a good part for Manchester United or a good player for Manchester United is injuries. But with Marcus Rashford, and I don't know if you guys do agree with me, when he's playing in that second 10, in a game like yesterday where Rasmus Hojlund was kind of dropping deep, a lot of back-to-goal play, trying to hold the ball up, get the wide players involved, get the wing-backs involved, it opened up space for Marcus Rashford to get in behind, especially because Hojlund was dragging a centre-back out with him, which, as a result, it vacates some space. Now, with Marcus Rashford, for me, it's just when Manchester United, it seems like they are trying their best to find a spot for him in the team and try figure out where his kind of profile and his type of technical ability, or maybe his attributes, where it kind of fits into the starting 11 or into the matchday squad. I think that could be a sign that Manchester United and Marcus Rashford could potentially part ways. Now, I know it's only two games in under Ruben Amorim, but we've already seen him play in two different positions. And for me, he wasn't really wow in either of those positions. Yes, he got the goal on the weekend against Ipswich, but outside of that, he made some good runs, but that's it. Again, subbed off. Now, midweek, comes off the bench, gets a great chance in front of goal and just drags it wide. Now, that's his first shot on goal. It's not always that players will score the first shot that they have on goal. But I'm really starting to look at this Manchester United team and look at particular players and wonder where exactly will they fit into the team, if they will. For example, and you guys have ranted. I'm saying you guys. I don't want to. What's the word? I don't want to generalize. I don't want to generalize you guys, but there's one player in particular that everybody ranted and raved about playing at wing-back position. And I saw enough yesterday to know that he is not a wing-back. He's not a wing-back, or maybe he can be a wing-back, but I don't want it at Manchester United. Now, I don't want to cause a pylon on him, so I'm just going to point out just the particular errors that I saw yesterday in his performance. And one of it was playing as a wing-back, guys. In comparison, and to be honest, all I can really do is compare it to Ahmad's performance against Ipswich, because that's the only other right wing back that we've seen in the Amorim system so far. But I looked at his performance and going forward, I'm thinking, okay, you're halting play way too much. You're slowing down the game too many times. A few times actually, you're putting poor deliveries into the box. How can you expect your number 9 to get any opportunities if your wing back is not putting any dangerous crosses into the box? There's too many times you're holding on to the ball when you should be slipping a pass in to Mason Mount or to Ugarte or to Bruno Fernandes. There was way too many instances that I saw those kind of moments, the moments that, unfortunately, as fans, we will nitpick at. And on the defensive side of the game, I don't think he was great. Now, a lot of people praise Antony for his defensive attributes as a winger. And when you're playing as a wing back in particular, I feel like yesterday, where Tyrell Malacia was on the far left and Antony was on the far right, Manchester United were creating more from Malacia's side in the first half, if they were trying to create anything. Now, of course, I feel like with Licha as a left-sided centre-back, you've got that player that can play, a line-breaking pass. But also, there's no excuse for Antony because he's got Mazraoui next to him. And I think Mazraoui has been an exquisite right-sided centre-back over the last 2 games. Now, today, I don't know if you guys saw, I was going to touch on it later into the stream, but there are suggestions that Manchester United will be looking to sell maybe Antony. Now, this is coming from The Athletic, Laurie Whitwell, David Ornstein. They do a thing called a transfer sheet where they just summarize all transfer news about clubs. And in particular, they mentioned Antony, and they said Antony is the most obvious player United could sell to raise funds. Amorim may also try to remold him into a wing-back, and he did start there yesterday, as we know. But unless he sparks a turnaround, an exit appears the most likely outcome if United could find a willing buyer to pay enough money. Now, Manchester United do know also that, his price has drastically, reduced from what they paid for him. Manchester United paid 86 million for him. I think if Man United get 20 million, they should bite the hand and run away with it. They should snatch that 20 million out of his hand, out of whatever club's hand, and run away with it, because you're never going to get 86 million because Manchester United paid an overly inflated price for him. And I know it's only 1 game, and I don't know if you guys think it's harsh of me to judge him at wing back after 1 game. But if you guys remember, Marcus Rashford played through the 9. He played through the middle against Ipswich. And it took Amorim 60 minutes of a game to identify that Marcus Rashford cannot play as a 9. So I don't doubt that maybe Manchester United know that maybe the wing-back situation at Manchester United is not for Antony. And I don't mean it. I don't want to be mean or anything, because I think there's a footballer in him. But I just feel like there's a lot of things that he does in the game. It slows the game down. It's, I don't know if you lot realize, but he always does this little stutter, like fake step over, whatever you want to call it, this stutter with his left foot. And it's just wasteful. It takes 4 or 5 seconds off the clock. By then, team has been able to get back into formation and get tight. There was times yesterday where Mason Mount was making some great off-the-ball runs on that right-hand side, and Antony just was not finding him, and he was getting doubled up on quite a bit in the first half. And I actually think that's a bit flattering to double up on Antony, because even when you don't double up on him, he's not creating anything. And the fact that, Nazir Mazraoui was able to create that chance for Rasmus Hojlund from the right-sided centre-back position just kind of shows to me that Antony is not what Manchester United want or need at right wing back position. Antony is awful. I was at the game last night. He was peeing me off. I don't blame you, because I was watching him getting annoyed as well. If Malacia was not if Malacia wasn't, it was his first game after like 500 something days, I would have said hook Antony at halftime. But also, I feel like it is harsh to hook a player off. And I understand why Antony stayed on, because it's his first time playing at wing back, and you have to give him some time to play in that position before you really, I think as a manager, before you judge him. Slowest dribbler on the planet. But you know what it is, guys? Yeah, I don't know what it is, but everybody praises Antony for being quick. But when I watch him in a foot race, I don't think he's that quick. I do not think he's that quick. He's not good with the ball mostly, and must he fall on the ground anytime he tries to pass or shoot. I think the pitch was a bit slippery yesterday. I don't want to make excuses. I do think the pitch was slippery yesterday, but there was a moment, I think, that kind of solidified my opinion on Antony. And it was a chance that came on the right-hand side where he could slip a pass into Mount, who would have been in a much more threatening position. And he cut onto his left foot, went for goal, got blocked. Now, I understand that he's low in confidence. I 100% agree that. But in those kind of moments, you need to make the right decision. And I think Amorim has emphasized this as well in his press conferences about players being in positions and having to make the right decision. And the fact that some of these players can't do that. Now, I'm not insinuating that he's talking about Antony, but I just watched Antony yesterday and thought, you make a lot of bad decisions in the game. And yeah, a manager can try and coach you to make better decisions. But I was having this debate the other day. We were having this debate on the podcast, on the Straight Jacket podcast. And I was saying that you can't teach IQ, but you can teach decision making. But I said that it goes hand in hand. Like, a lot of players could have great football IQ, but their decision making might not be great. But you can't have great decision making and have low IQ. And that's why I think if you've got poor decision making, you've got bad football IQ. But if you've got great decision making, your IQ is good. You can see Mount visibly frustrated, and it wasn't once or twice or thrice, but Mount would have looked way better if they were in sync. Yeah, I agree. And also because they haven't played together at all, I think, in this system. Antony is done for me. He ain't making no difference at all. Angel says if he can have all the pace, if he can't do the basics, he's not gonna improve. I agree. I did think like I was being a bit harsh on him yesterday, but in terms of all the players and a lot of people, obviously, Ruben Amorim used all 5 subs by like the 60-something minute, 63rd minute, which is obviously something that we are not used to that much. But I did wonder if Antony would stay on, and I thought maybe because Antony is starting, it's more likely that Ahmad will start on the weekend, which I could totally understand because Ahmad, I know a lot of you guys don't like the idea of Ahmad in that right wing back spot, but what he offers and, having someone like Mazraoui next to him in terms of going forward, I think it's a great asset for Manchester United on the right hand side. His ability to progress the ball, his technical ability, his physical strength, his ability to get back, his ability to A, cross the ball in, or B, cut in and create something for himself. I feel like wing back in that Amorim system, I think it's going to be 2 ways. I think it's going to be either we're going to see someone who's traditionally more as a wide player that plays as a wing back, and then on the other side someone who's more traditionally a fullback will play there, and I really think that's the path United could go down over the next couple months. So of course it's going to take some time to kind of get into this system, if you want to call it. I hate the word system, guys. Can we find a new word to sum up this Amorim thing? Big up to Breadwinner in the chat, says big up Minna and chat. Big up. Make sure you guys hit the like button if you've just come through. But let's go through quickly some stuff that Ruben Amorim said after the game, because I quickly just touched on it. He spoke about Mason Mount. And he spoke about Mason Mount after his first couple of trainings, and how much of a wonderful player he is, and how much he can't wait to work with him. But he also says about Mason Mount after the game, he said, he has proven to all of you that he's a talented player. He was a European champion, so I believe in him a lot. He just has to stay fit. And it's kind of what I've emphasized the last couple of weeks. Mason Mount's biggest hindrance to his time at Manchester United will be if he cannot stay fit, because in this Amorim football and this particular style, this 3-4-3, out of possession, in possession, etc., I think is most suited to players like Mason Mount. And of course, he's played in that. You saw Hojlund talking about after the game that he's played in a 3-4-3, which he likes. I feel like players who have played in 3-4-3 will like this Amorim system, and we will see the better side of them. And I think Mason Mount will be one of them, as long as he can stay fit. You guys see Reece James right now, for example. The guy cannot stay fit. I think he hasn't been available for 2 games in a row in a couple of seasons for Chelsea. I think if Mason Mount goes down that path, it could get bad. But I hope it doesn't, because I still think there's a player in Mason Mount, and more so I think he's fitted and suited to this style of football than he was Erik ten Hag's football. Excuse me. Big up to Riri with the super chat. Big up, sis. I hope you're doing well. Says, bless up Minna and the Minions gang. Big up. But I thought Mason Mount yesterday had a great performance. For me, it's not just the stuff that he's doing in possession. And you know what, guys? I talk about this all the time. I say all the time, I love a player at Manchester United that doesn't require a lot of touches on the ball. Like, look at all the players that I love to speak about. Mazraoui. I like to speak about Luke Shaw in possession. I like to speak about Ahmad. I like to speak about Mason Mount. I like players that do not take too many touches on the ball, because when you take too many touches, you run into trouble. It's inevitable. And Amorim talked about this with Bruno Fernandes, and I don't get how people are talking negatively about Bruno Fernandes yesterday, because I don't think he had a bad game. I think he was actually pretty decent. But if Mason Mount hadn't come off, and I understand, Manchester United have to manage his minutes, I would have said he was one of the best players on the pitch. Of course, he didn't get that much. He didn't get that much game time. I think he came off at just before the 60-minute mark, if I'm wrong. But Ruben Amorim spoke about this in his pre-game. He spoke about it in his post-match press conference, and he spoke about it in his pre-game one that he did ahead of the Everton game. And he says, we will rotate players and we will be ready. Today, we had to use 4 substitutions to manage the fitness, not the game. So I know a lot of think pieces were being done about his in-game changes, his tactical changes, his substitutions, adapting to the game. But he kind of got rid of that idea of him changing the game with his subs because the game needed a change tactically. And rather the fact that it was actually because of fitness, which is understandable, because a lot of these players that played or started on yesterday, they weren't match fit. Some of them weren't. Mason Mount hasn't played consistent ball in a long time. Last year, that was his first game back in the senior team. I think he played 2 games for the under-21s. Antony hasn't played much as well. Leach has just returned back from injury as well. So I understand the need to make those subs. But he's saying the subs were to manage the fitness, not the game. We managed the fitness today, and we have to do it. And we already know it will be like that. There are no excuses, but we will be ready for Sunday. We have to win. He then went on to say, the guys that are playing have to push more, push the guys to the limit, and then the other guys have to train as well. Luke Shaw had some minutes, and now he's going to train because he's 3 days away from some things we cannot do now. The idea of Luke Shaw and the reality of Luke Shaw is interesting, because you lot know, I like Luke Shaw as a player. I think he is actually, on a technical level, one of Manchester United's best players in the squad right now. There's other people as well that we can mention, but Luke Shaw, for me, technical level, no one touches him. But similar to Mason Mount, injuries will be the biggest kind of downfall of Luke Shaw. Now, yesterday, we saw him play in a back 4, if you want to say that, in the second half when Amorim kind of changed the game a little bit. We saw him play in a back 4. On the weekend, we saw him playing in back 3. I think that Luke Shaw's future will be left-sided centre-back in a back 3 or a back 4, because he can step up into midfield if necessary. Now, in the first half, I don't know if you guys noticed, but a lot of the possession coming from the back line, trying to bring the ball forward, was coming from Leach's side because of his ability to play those line-breaking passes. And he was doing it very well. I think he played like 4 line-breaking passes into the final third for Manchester United. And he can do it well. Luke Shaw can do it too. So Luke Shaw is a player that Amorim has spoken about as well, quite positively. But again, similar to Mason Mount, I think is down more so to injuries, if anything else. I saw a thing. Let me see if I can find it. But I saw a thing. Oh, here it is. Is this it? Yep. Okay. This is it. Look at Manchester United's average positions yesterday. So shout out to Mark Stats on Twitter. Look at Man United's average positions, guys. Now, Onana did a madness. I know you lot saw it. My heart dropped, guys. My heart dropped when Onana came running off his line like that because I thought he would do what I would do in that position, which would be handball it by accident. He scared me. But Onana was, playing quite high, especially when Man United were in possession. Now, I don't know if you lot remember, but just before Ruben Amorim joined Manchester United, I don't have the stat file up right now. But just before Ruben Amorim joined Manchester United, there was a statistic that suggested that Ruben Amorim Sporting played the 4th highest line in Europe in the season so far. Now, Manchester United are probably still a bit away from getting to that kind of playing consistent high line football. But also when Man United are dominating possession, you're able to kind of get and sit a lot more in the opponent's half. Now, look at Manchester United's average positions, guys. This is Man United's average positions in particular. Garnacho, we know what we're going to get with Garnacho if he's playing. I was actually shocked to see him play and play most of the game, just because he played on the weekend as well. I'm still not sold on Garnacho as one of the left 10s personally, because I just think he's more naturally like a winger, and I think you can't. I feel like you cannot. Like there's certain type of winger profiles, right? And I think, Garnacho and Ahmad, perfect example. Even Garnacho or Sancho as an example, right? And I'm talking about profile. I'm talking specifically about profile. I think it's easier to turn a player like Ahmad into one of the inside 10s than it is to turn a player like Garnacho into one of the inside 10s, because Garnacho naturally is going to drift out wide. He did it quite a lot, especially, he was given support options to Malacia in the first half, but in the second half in particular, I don't know if you guys noticed, but Dalot was the one that was occupying this space here. Dalot was the one in the second half occupying this space here, and Garnacho was holding the width. I don't know if it was Garnacho playing wing back and Dalot was playing in the 10, but I feel like Garnacho naturally likes that width in the game. And in a team where Manchester United's width is held by the wing backs, and I don't see Garnacho as a wing back, I really wonder where his future lies at Manchester United. Now, I know we're probably going to continue to see him in the team, like we are going to continue to see other players where we still have kind of question marks in terms of where is their, what is their strong suit, what is the best position for them. Obviously, he got that goal as well yesterday. I do think Hojlund could have got the goal. I don't know. What do you lot think about that first goal? I think, by the way, the keeper rugby tackled Hojlund. If United didn't score from that, it had to be a penalty. That had to be it, because he fully had he rugby tackled him from behind. I really wanted Hojlund to get the goal because I wanted him to get the hat trick. But outside of that goal, there was some, again, questionable decisions I think Garnacho made during the game. I think there was one particular ball over the top. He's, blasting down the goal, drags it wide. I don't mind him taking that chance because it's one-on-one. The angle was getting a bit tighter the more he went forward, but he went for goal and he dragged it wide. But there was a particular chance at goal. Let me see if I could actually find the exact screenshot. I don't think I'll be able to find it. But there was a particular chance that he had where Hojlund is in so much space, and he goes for, here it is. Thank you, Twitter, man. Twitter is always going to allow me to find it. This chance here that kind of stood out for me. This is the chance that stood out for me. And I wanted United to just put the game away. I wanted United to put the game away. We had so many chances. And that's why I said the 3-2 scoreline was quite... rivals will see that 3-2 scoreline and think, wow, United just nicked it. It wasn't just... United didn't just nick it. They dominated the second half. And it was one of their better performances in a long time. But this moment here, Garnacho actually picks the ball up from somewhere like around here. And then he comes in onto his right foot. You can see the angle is getting shut. The angle is getting shut by the two centre-backs. As a result, these two centre-backs are so occupied trying to block the goal, You can see here, Hojlund is in heaps of space. The guy's on a hat trick. He's on a hat trick. If you play it first time, Hojlund can let the and you have to play it with a good pass. It has to have the right amount of weight. If you put that pass into Hojlund's thing, he can let it run across him slightly and go for goal with his right foot, which is obviously, we know, I think is his weaker foot, or he can go for it first time with his left foot. Either or, but he skied it. He skied it. I don't even think this chance was on target. And this is why I say this goes down to similar with Antony, decision making. United players, there's some United players that I feel like they need to learn to make better decisions in game. Decisions that I think could fully change the outcome of the game. Because had Bodo Glimt equalized, I would have looked back at this chance and I would have looked back at the Rashford chance and I would have said those are the two chances that threw away the game for Manchester United. And of course, I think Onana had a good game as well. He made some good saves as well throughout the game, so credit to him. But this is what I think we've been speaking about for a long time. We've been speaking about it for ages. People need to make better do of the chances that they get, but equally they need to make better decisions. Because I watched this and I thought, bro, come on. You got your goal. You have your goal. And I totally understand. And you know what? I don't know if you lot remember, but so when Man United signed RVP, reportedly Sir Alex Ferguson told players, I don't care what you do, you better find him every time. You better find this guy every time. So they were always looking for RVP. I think Amorim needs to do something similar with some of these wingers at Manchester United when it comes to Hojlund. Because Hojlund, sometimes I think he doesn't make the best runs, but when he does, people are not finding him and they're taking the wrong chance, the wrong shot. Because I'm not a professional footballer, guys. I've got 2 coaching qualifications. I don't have my UEFA B license. I don't have my UEFA A license. But I know for a fact that you should not be taking this shot here because the angle's been closed off for you. Your only chance is potentially to curl it around the centre back. But even then, it's not likely going to be the case. But that was the thing that kind of stood out to me with Garnacho in terms of their average positions. This is a lot better because Ipswich game, if you lot remember, Marcus Rashford and Garnacho's average positions was a lot closer to each other. But this is what happens when you've got a number 9. You can see where Mason Mount is kind of contributing in terms of how he's playing. He's playing as a different type of 10 to Garnacho. And I like the idea of Bruno in that deeper position because he's able to dictate the play. Now, the only downside, I think, to playing Bruno in that deeper position is the physical part of the game. You think about the first goal that United conceded. Bruno doesn't think like a 6, in my opinion. He doesn't, because he's not a 6. So that first goal that United conceded, Mazraoui gets tight to his man, vacate some space. Antony's not there to support or try support with that space that he's now vacated. And neither of the 6s get back. So that's no full criticism on Bruno because the criticism is also on Ugarte as well. But this, I really wonder, where do you guys see Kobe coming in? And this is why I think Ruben Amorim, genuinely speaking, guys, I feel like these couple of games, the 2 that we've seen already, and then the few to come, especially Everton, I think these are the games where he's trying to figure out where players can fit in. Because we still haven't seen Kobe Mainoo. We still haven't seen Kobe Mainoo in the team yet. We've already seen 2 different partnerships in the midfield. We saw Eriksen and Casemiro on the weekend. We've seen Bruno and Ugarte now. We're yet to see Kobe Mainoo. Is Kobe going to be one of the 2-10s options? Is he going to be one of the sitting midfielder options? I'm really curious to see where he kind of fits in to the team. Minna, does Amorim got the guts to drop his fellow countryman and club captain? I don't know. Minna, if our 30-year-old captain shoots from wherever, whenever, why expect better from young players? That is valid. You have to lead by example, but I don't. Let me look. Let me double check how many shots he had on goal, because I remember Bruno at one point he had like a 17% shooting accuracy, right? This is before he got his first goal of the season. I don't think he took a lot of bad shots yesterday. Let me 5 shots on goal. How many of them on target? Oh, that went wide. So 1 on target. Okay, that's not good. That's not good. I do think Bruno needs to take less shots at goal. Personally, I think when I think about the kind of player that Bruno is and the kind of player that Man United can maybe utilize him as, it has to be a player that takes less shots and more so passing. Now, his pass accuracy yesterday, 88% pass accuracy. That's 74 out of 84 passes, which I don't think is bad. He only created one chance, but he had 95 touches and 12 passes into the final third. Three touches, in the opponent's box, and 7 out of 9 long ball accuracy. Didn't get dispossessed at all, which I think Amorim spoke about it on the weekend, about Bruno's desire to play long balls all the time. And I think, like I said, Bruno football, when it comes to chaos, thrives, because it's just long balls. But Bruno, I've said this for years. I remember saying this on UV like 2 seasons ago, after Eric Ten Hag's first season. I said Bruno needs to change his style a little bit, and he needs to play a bit smarter in possession. And again, this is why I go back to players that don't require a lot of touches on the ball, because when you look at traditional 10s or people that play in that attacking midfield role, they don't always need 50 touches on the ball before they get the ball out of their feet. Sometimes I watch players at Manchester United who play in that role who require that many touches. I don't think you always need to do that. You look at Cole Palmer, for example, and I don't think Cole Palmer has been amazing the last couple of weeks, but he's not a guy that requires a lot of touches on the ball. And it's also because he's a very silky kind of guy with the ball at his feet. And it's not just him. Just think about all the 10s in football. Dani Olmo, think of Florian Wirtz, think of Jamal Musiala. Think about all the 10s in world football right now that are playing. Odegaard, for example. And think about how many of them need to take a lot of touches on the ball. Not many of them, I think, need to take a lot of touches on the ball because they know what to do. But I feel like when you get the ball, your first touch is to get control of the ball. Your second touch is to look around. Third touch, the ball should be out of your feet. Whether it's to a quick pass, an easy pass, you can easy play 1-2, or find the switch. Now, one thing that I've realized with Amorim football, by the way, guys, is a lot of switches, directional switches from wing back to wing back, from centre back to wing back, etc. They are trying to switch the play, and it's helpful that United do have some good, some technically able players. Having the wide centre backs pushed so high will always leave a lot of space. That's why I want Euro at central centre back. I think Euro at central centre back, but it's not just that, because Delap is getting tight. One thing that I realized in this back three is that, I don't know if it's instructions, it must be, because I saw it against Ipswich, I saw it against Bodo Glimt. Not just the centre back, the wide centre backs that are getting tight. It's even the central centre back. Against Ipswich, Delap was doing that a lot against Delap. He was doing it a lot against Delap. And for me, it's all about just the back line needs to move together. So if you see your centre back going tight, the two wide centre backs need to come in. They need to close the gaps. Players I don't think have got the hang of it. I don't think they've got the hang of it. I saw a report today. Let me see who it was from. That was basically suggesting that Amorim has to dumb down instructions for players to kind of during training drills. Now, of course, this is just paper talk and it's just speculation. But the report was trying to suggest, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Daily Mail or someone that was basically saying that because he said that players can't pay attention for more than 12 minutes when watching tape, he has to simplify explanations for them when it comes to drills in training. And if that's the case, then guys, we're in for a bumpy ride. If Ruben Amorim has to dumb things down and explain it like he's, like when you're teaching algebra and you have to simplify it as easy as possible to explain it, especially if you're not good at maths, then United's going to be, it's going to be a couple of months before we really see how Man United can play under Ruben Amorim. We've got over 80 people in here. We ain't even hit 50 likes, guys. Come on, please hit the like button. It really helps with the algorithm. If you've just come through, you know the rules, man. You come in, you wipe your feet, you say hi to everyone in the chat, and then you hit the like button as well. If you want to join the membership club, you can. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content. Of course, you get to support the growth of the channel, the ever-growing channel. We're less than 100 away from 8K, which is a wonderful milestone, given the fact that I only started my channel about 15 months ago. No backing, no big channels pushing it, no shout outs, just authentic growth. So make sure you guys subscribe as well if you're new here. If you want to support the channel in alternative ways, you can by sending in super chats with your comments, with your questions, with your thoughts, or you can just do it to show some love. And if you want to do something simple, like I said, just hit the like button because it really, really helps with the algorithm. I don't believe that problem is just that this team isn't as good as we think. You know, I look at this team, right? And I think players there's in this team. Let me just bring up a picture of the team. Because in this team, I can pinpoint certain attributes in players, right? I can definitely pinpoint certain attributes. But what I can't do, is I cannot pinpoint who has intensity levels, etc., etc. Like, I feel like the biggest hindrance to Manchester United right now, and I think it's very clear, is the physicality part, and B is the intensity part of the game. That is for me the biggest issue that Manchester United face right now. I feel like that's the biggest issue that Manchester United face, and that's why I said Erik ten Hag. I don't blame him completely because I also blame the board for signing some of these players. But I feel like the squad planning was poor, and we can say, oh, look, you guys are noticing this now when Erik ten Hag has left. You guys were blaming Erik ten Hag, blah, blah. But Erik ten Hag is the one that put this team together, number one. Number two, he's the one that brought most of these players in. So I don't want to say scouting, but his identification of attributes has contributed to the problem that Manchester United have right now. You cannot have a team, in my opinion, in any way or shape or form, whether you're playing in Europa, Premier League, if you're playing in the French League, whatever, that doesn't have the intensity. You cannot play with a flimsy team that has no physicality, especially in that midfield. And this is why I'm a big advocate that Manchester United should go and sign a central midfielder, a Manu Kone, a Belieber, even Amadou Onana, if he was, able to stay fit and he didn't go to Aston Villa. Manchester United need a box-to-box monster, because in that midfield, let's be real, Manchester United do not have an ounce of physicality. The closest part to physicality, I would say, is Kobbie Mainoo, and it's not a 10 out of 10. It's not a 10 out of 10 in terms of physicality levels. Bring in Marcel. He has good ball sense. Marcel's too busy for me, man. Marcel is too busy for me. With the right coaching, this is a title-winning team. Slow down, brother. Brother, slow down. Man United are still a bit away. There's still some chess pieces away from being a title-contending team, let alone a title-winning team. Manchester United, I don't think, can win a title with this team. Not at all. And that's why I'm really curious to see how, actually, Amorim sets up against Arsenal next week. That's going to be a big game, because Arsenal in that midfield, they got Declan Rice, they got Thomas Partey, obviously they got Odegaard as well. I'm very curious to see how that midfield operates, because I don't know if you lot realize, and I wish this is perfect time for me to have a whiteboard, because them two midfielders that Man United have in the middle and the two tens, the two tens kind of drop deep out of shape to kind of support and congest that middle. And I'm curious to see if Manchester United do that against Arsenal as well, especially because Arsenal are a team that can play out on the wide sides. Also, they need to recycle the ball more with the keeper. They need to draw players in. That's true. Thoughts on Zirkzee? Let's actually talk about Joshua Zirkzee, because here he is. Didn't sniff a minute yesterday. Didn't sniff a minute of football yesterday, if I'm not wrong. I don't think he came on as a sub. Now, in I mentioned the Athletics report, the transfer sheet that kind of just summarizes any transfer news or potential transfer news about players. Joshua Zirkzee is mentioned. Now, Manchester United paid a fairly modest price of 36 million for Joshua Zirkzee, and his arrival in England has not gone as it has hoped to. Depending on how he performs under Ruben Amorim, Man United might look to get their money back next summer. So he could potentially be on that kind of transfer market in the summer. Now, in terms of what Manchester United are doing, United reportedly are building connections in Saudi Arabia. So it seems like Man United want to treat Saudi Arabia like Chelsea have, dump their players there. But Manchester United are reportedly building connections in Saudi to see if that market will be an option for them. Clubs in Turkey also provide another possibility for sales. Galatasaray reportedly was interested in a loan move for Casemiro, but the player turned the offer down. Now, like I said, with the Joshua Zirkzee thing, it's really unfortunate. How do you guys feel about the Joshua Zirkzee thing? Because I feel like It's just unfortunate. I said this on the new podcast I have with KG on his channel, but I said Joshua Zirkzee for me is a luxury player, i.e., I look at him and think he's the icing on the cake type of player. But I am starting to think that maybe the lack of speed and the lack of agility and the lack of acceleration that he has could potentially be a hindrance to what he does now. I don't see him playing in a deeper midfield role. I feel like if he's going to play, it has to be behind the striker in that kind of 10 role. I don't see him playing deeper down the pitch because in defensive transition, he will get eaten alive. He's got no pace whatsoever. But equally with saying that, going forward, he has no pace. He's quite a tall guy. He's 6'4", I think. Can't really win aerial duels. So that's another thing that he lacks. Now, yes, you could talk about his ball retention, his ability to play the right pass, how good he is at playing a pass. But when you have weaknesses that are, I think, on par in terms of, I feel like his positives, when it comes to attributes, does not outweigh his weaknesses. I feel like they're on par. And when it's like that, I feel like you don't really have much of a benefit to the team. And like I said, Manchester United need to identify these kind of situations where if they sign a player and it's not working, sell the player. And Omar Barada spoke about this in an interview many a times with Financial Times, where he said at Manchester City, they had this idea, 2 seasons you're out. You get the first season to kind of get embedded, and the second season, you got to hit the ground running. Otherwise, it's time to go. And I think Manchester United need to incorporate that thing into their squad building as well, because we've had way too many players at Manchester United that join and end up running down their contract 5-6 years and then leaving. And we're not in any better position than we were when we brought them. Manchester United need to be more ruthless when it comes to this. And Joshua Zirkzee could be one of those signings where we look back on and we're like, you know what? Had Man United had their 20-30 goal scoring striker, if they had their wing back, if they had their midfield, and we brought Joshua Zirkzee as the final piece in the team, it might have worked. But when you brought him as that first piece of the Ineos era, because he was the first signing of the Ineos era, so when you brought him in like that, it is very, I feel like the weights are very heavy in terms of needing to succeed. And I did a little short about this where I said Manchester United strikers do not have the luxury of patience when it comes to other positions, because we're a team that cannot score. When you can't score, when you're scoring 60 or less than 60 goals a Premier League campaign, you have to, as a striker, fans will want you to score. Like, I went to Old Trafford, Liverpool game, when we lost 3-0. And the crowd was agitated with Joshua Zirkzee because he was doing nothing, because he's not a number 9. Van Dijk and Konate, I think it was Konate that was playing there, but Van Dijk could have set up a picnic and laid down on the ground because he had nothing to do. He had nothing to do. Now, I feel like if Hojlund was in that position, who is more a natural 9 than Joshua Zirkzee is, Hojlund might not have scored because United lost 3-0, but I think he would have done a lot more to kind of potentially try and disrupt that backline. Joshua Zirkzee is not that kind of striker, and that's why I say he's a luxury player. He's a player that Man United might not need, but it's like, when you're painting and then you just do that final coat just to make sure everything looks good. That's what he's like. You might not need him, but he'll make the team look good. But the team doesn't look good, so what's the point on having him right now? There is no point. Big up to Riri, been a member for 11 months. As players lack confidence, they're slowly getting back into it. Yesterday was the best that I've seen United play in a long time. Like, it was the best I've seen United play. Big up to Riri as well with the super chat. Says, Zirkzee not a good fit for Man United, but he has talent. I agree. And there's nothing wrong with saying that a player is not the right fit for the team. There's nothing, for me, if Manchester United sell Zirkzee in the summer, that is their way, for me, of Ineos saying, you know what, we got it wrong. We got it wrong. But I'd rather that they rectify that wrong immediately, rather than sitting around and waiting 2 and 3 seasons before you decide to sell him. If he can't hold the ball up better, he can play as one of the 10, but he plays too much one touch and they're not coming off. That's another thing. Yeah, he does play a lot of one touch football. And when people are not on the same wavelength, it's very difficult to play one touch football. I feel like on the right hand side, Ahmad, Mazraoui, I feel like maybe if Kobe's there, because we did see it earlier in the season, between those 4, they can play one touch football. But I don't think there is always a necessity for one touch football. Sometimes, if a team's sitting back, why are you playing one touch football? You got time on the ball. You got time to progress the ball. You don't have to play one touch football all the time. And I also think the lack of speed is a part of it. I genuinely, I don't want to kind of highlight his weaknesses too much, but I do think when you lack speed, because we criticize Harry Maguire as a centre back for lacking pace. As a striker, I think, or as a, whatever you call it, a 9.5, whatever, you can't lack pace. Not only that, you can lack pace, but it's like Delap, for example, is a player who on the eye he doesn't look fast, but his ability to his recover pace, his recovery pace is not that bad. So on the eye, the first 1-2 he looks slow, but as he's recovering pace, he kind of gains he gains more speed. Joshua Zirkzee is not like that. I remember there was a chance in a game that he played where he was near the halfway line and played the ball out wide, and he didn't even try to run fast to get into the box, because by the time the ball went out wide, and I think it was someone on the right-hand side was trying to play a ball into the box, he was nowhere near the box. So that's the kind of moments that I think of. And I think with Hojlund, who we're going to talk about, by the way, with Hojlund, and then maybe Marcus Rashford, I genuinely think Joshua Zirkzee will be the third choice striker. I genuinely think that. And just on Rasmus Hojlund, quickly, before we get onto the topic of strikers that Manchester United are linked to, where's the picture? Look at this from Hojlund yesterday. And shout out to the Athletic for this. Because number one, and this is Hojlund, by the way, just for some context, guys. This is Rasmus Hojlund's heat map, etc., involvement in the game, etc., etc. That first goal is all on Hojlund. That's what you want your striker to do. Press, force an error, close the passing lanes. That was all Hojlund. I know on the score sheet it was Garnacho's goal, but that was all Rasmus. I give all credit to Rasmus Hojlund for that. Look at his open play heat map in this particular thing here. He's in the places where I've been wanting him to get into. And he spoke about this after the game, where he said this Ruben, he thinks that he really thinks that the Ruben Amorim system is suited for him because it's the system that he likes and he's played it at Atalanta. And it's probably because he's played it at Atalanta as, the first team that he was a senior player of. So it's probably, like the first thing that you learn is the thing that you tend to kind of resonate with. I think that's why he probably likes the 3-4-3. But in terms of what we're going to get from him in the Amorim football, I think we saw glimpses of it against Bodo Glimt. Number one, I think he needs to take a lot less touches. And Amorim said this after the game. He said that Hojlund did good, but he takes too much touches when he's playing back to goal. I 100% agree. I agree with that, number one. Number two, his back to goal play is good. He's able to do that. He didn't try to get too occupied with the physicality and the physical battles with the defenders. And instead, he was just making a lot of better runs. Throughout the game, I felt like he made a lot better runs in the box. And you can see here that he's making a lot more runs centrally through the middle. Now, I saw moments in the past, last season, etc., where someone's coming on the left-hand side, someone's coming down the left-hand side, and he'll make a run near post. Or someone's coming down the right-hand side, and he'll make a run near post. It seems like he's being instructed to make a lot more runs centrally, because that's where the wingers are going to find it. When they put a ball into the box, I think that is where they're going to find you. So I really liked what I saw yesterday from Rasmus Hojlund. He definitely was, for me, man of the match. Without a doubt, I don't think so. But there's another player that I feel like we're always talking about him, by the way. I feel like we are always talking about this guy here, but Nazir Mazraoui, bro, guys, he is an absolute bargain. He is an absolute £12.8 million. And there was people complaining about losing Aaron Wan-Bissaka. No disrespect to Aaron Wan-Bissaka, because I like him. But I always said that Mazraoui would be an upgrade on him. Mazraoui, Luke Shaw, Ahmad, four of Manchester United's most technical players with the ball at their feet. And if Man United had, if Man United had 11 Mazraouis in the team, they would win the league. Because it's not just how good he is, but it's just how good at what he, like, the way that he does stuff, for me, is like, this is what a footballer is. This is what a footballer is. So he doesn't overthink things. He does things so well, puts a great delivery in the box. That delivery for Hojlund's goal is a top delivery because it's a pinpoint accurate cross. But it's what he did before that for me that I was standing on my feet and applauding my TV, because he runs into trouble. And this is why I say he's so comfortable and so good at wriggling out of trouble. He runs into trouble. As a defender, he shouldn't be this good on the ball, right? As a defender, he should not be this good on the ball, but he is. And he gets into trouble and he wriggles out just simply by having the ball close to his feet, looks up, takes a touch, puts a ball into the box. Simple as. I had to watch Antony as a wing back doing 10 fake stepovers before he passes the ball back. And I like Mazraoui because he's always looking for the pass forward. If he's not looking for the pass forward, he's trying to get into space forward. And I think, no, I'm actually curious. Let me not say I think. I'm actually curious to see when Lenny Yoro is fully fit, Leach is fully fit, Delit's fully fit, is Mazraoui going to continue being at right-sided centre-back? Because I feel like the balance that he adds as a right-sided centre-back is a lot better than potentially what we could get as a right wing-back. Now, listen, Mazraoui, you play him anyway, he's going to perform. Clearly, he's playing centre-back, he's playing right-back, left-back, etc. So definitely, I think wherever you play him, he will perform. But I do like this idea of having someone else on the right of him that can go up and down the pitch, because he's able to drift in central when he's playing as a right-sided centre-back. He's able to drift out wide. He's able to get forward, etc. And he's just so good on the ball. So I'm definitely curious to see what is the future for Mazraoui in the back line, because Manchester United, of course, there's still players to come back from, to be fully fit. And Ruben Amorim will definitely have a decision to make, because Diogo Dalot on the left-hand side is an interesting one. I don't know what you lot think, guys. I don't know what you guys think, but I don't like Diogo Dalot at left wing back. I don't know what it is. I do not know what it is, but I don't like what I'm seeing at left wing back. Maybe because he's not a player that holds the width a lot. So he's going to come in a bit more central, but he's going to come in central more. Yesterday, we saw his average position was a lot more central, and I felt like Garnacho was holding the width a lot more. But I just don't know what United kind of gain from having Dalot as that left wing back. Put him on right wing back as with Yoro as a centre back and Ahmad as a 10. I think we might see that sometime soon. I definitely think we could see that sometime soon, which for me, that right hand side, if that was Yoro, Mazraoui at right wing back, Yoro at right centre back, Ahmad in the 10, Maino in the midfield, that right hand side will be one of the more technical side. I think Delap will have to compete with Yoro till we need Mazraoui and wing back due to lack of wing backs. That's why I think United will definitely go and buy a wing back. I think that is a guarantee. And one player that Manchester United is heavily linked to, heavily linked to, is this guy here. Now, another former player. It's funny. There's another former player. You would think we got PTSD from former players, right? But Manchester United are. Ruben Amorim has reportedly shown a preference for picking a left-footed player at right wing-back, with Giovanni Quenda operating there. Amorim has tried Antony in that role during training sessions in his first week, but he likes to have a balance of left and right footers in the squad. Manchester United have been linked to him, to Quenda. Let me actually bring up the exact quote right here. Quenda is an attractive proposition for Manchester United, and Samuel Lockhurst, take this with a pinch of salt, guys, because it's Samuel Lockhurst. But he's reporting that Manchester United are in contact with his camp to make a move for him. So again, take it with a pinch of salt. But that kind of verifies to me that Mazraoui might not be that future right wing back. I like him at right-sided centre-back, but maybe it's because it's where he's playing now. He might play at right wing back, and he might be even better there. You just never know. I think what you're gonna get with Mazraoui. I genuinely one thing I know about Mazraoui, by the way, is that you're gonna get a consistent 7 out of 10 at the minimum. At the minimum. Now, Laurie Whitwell is also reporting that Manchester United hope that Ruben Amorim can help guide Rasmus Hojlund to become as prolific as Victor Gyökeres. However, signing another striker is expected to be on the agenda for 2025. And one player that Manchester United are tracking and keeping an eye on is this guy here. And I said this a couple of days ago on stream. I said I would. KG laughed at me, by the way, when I said that I wouldn't mind United going in for a player like Liam Delap. Now, again, similar to, Hojlund, he's a young player, but equally with saying that, he 6 goals in the Prem is not easy, especially coming from Championship. I think he had 6 goals in the Champs before he came to here. There's a lot of things that Liam Delap does that I really like as a striker, as a young striker. He's only 21 as well. I do think, though, if United do sign a striker, would you guys prefer for United to sign a young player like Liam Delap, again, similar to Hojlund? Or would you like them to go and sign someone that is guaranteed scoring you 20 to 30 goals? Now, after Rasmus Hojlund's performance yesterday, and like I said, that was his best performance that I've seen in a Manchester United shirt in a while. I love the celebration as well. I love the celebration. It's his best performance that I've seen. But that goal, the ball in from Mazraoui, top goal. Because he's sandwiched between 2 centre-backs and he still manages to get the touch and then get the shot off with his weaker foot. I really hope, if Man United are sharing a similar sentiment as me in terms of hoping that Amorim can get something out of Rasmus Hojlund, I'm all for it. I do think, though, Manchester United will have to go out and sign a centre-back. A striker, sorry, not a centre-back. I think they'll have to go out and sign a striker. Whether they do it or not, by the way, that's just a conversation for another day, because PSR, it's not looking good from a PSR perspective. But big up to everyone. Listen, guys, be sure to hit the like button. We've got just over 90 people here, and we don't even have 90 likes, which means there's a lot of freeloaders. So please do hit the like button if you haven't. Be sure to subscribe as well. What do we have coming on the next couple of days? Tomorrow, we got a stream with Saeed, 12:30 UK time. Don't miss that. We've got a lot to talk about. Sunday, we have post-match content, of course. After the Everton game, we'll have 5 and 5 that drops, where we talk about 5 things we learned after the game. The one of Bodo Glimt is out now. Let me drop it in the link. So do me a favor, guys. Go over, have a watch. Be sure to hit the like button and let me know your thoughts below as well. It helps with the algorithm, guys. It really, really helps with the algorithm. All you have to do is go over there, 5 minutes, hit the like button, have a watch, and let me know in the comment section. But we'll have that drop in after the game against Everton. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a stream directly after the game or maybe later in the evening. But that is it for the day. Listen, guys, if you want to keep up with me on all other platforms, you can. Right here, all my socials, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I post every day on TikTok, guys. Who am I? I post every single day on TikTok. So be sure to go over and follow me there and hit the like button on the video right now if you haven't. I hope you have a wonderful evening, whatever you lot get up to. I might be live on Twitch. Today. So go and follow me on Twitch. The link is in the bio of this video so that when I go live, you get notified. But I'll catch you lot all tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. for a stream. I'm out. Have a great one, guys. Peace.